This is the tale of 20-year-old Park Chun-jae, who relocated to the city with hopes of finding love. Upon his arrival in Seoul, his first step was to download a popular dating app. Once he settled in, Park Chun glanced at his phone in surprise, realizing he had arrived earlier than expected. He introduced himself as Park Chun-jae, recalling how he had left his small hometown to pursue his studies in Seoul after turning 20. His mother's voice echoed in his mind, reminding him to eat well and stay in touch regularly. With a hint of worry, she had emphasized that he was now an adult starting university, cautioning him not to get overly excited about his new life in the city. Park Chun had sighed and assured her that he was okay and that he was about to head out. After recalling that memory, Park Chun contemplated his eagerness to embrace university life in Seoul, but what he truly yearned for was to find a friend who shared his passions. He felt a thrill at the thought of the vibrant LGBTQ+ community in Seoul. He remembered how, even in the magazines that kids would sneak a peek at, he found himself more drawn to the male models than the female ones. Despite his attempts to suppress these feelings, convincing himself that it was just a phase, he couldn't shake them off. At that moment, someone approached Park Chun and mentioned that if he was heading home, they would accompany him. This triggered memories of a senior he had met at a club, his first crush, which had remained unreciprocated. There were odd rumors circulating in his hometown, and he was anxious about that person discovering his true feelings, fearing judgment. Although his unreturned affection had ended quietly, he sensed that this year would be different. All he needed to do was get to Seoul and connect with others like him, hoping to find the boy of his dreams. Upon arriving in Seoul, his first action was to download a popular dating app. He set up his profile and felt a sense of accomplishment seeing it all ready to go. Before long, he received a message through the app, but to his surprise, it contained a picture of a pepper, along with a question about whether he would like to meet the person who owned it. As he looked at the image, Park Chun pondered how life often takes unexpected turns and wondered why someone would send such a photo. As he continued to receive inappropriate messages, Park Chun felt a wave of frustration wash over him. He couldn't comprehend how so many people could act so foolishly. He questioned what was wrong with everyone in the city and decided that he couldn't engage in a relationship like that. When another message popped up, he hesitated to check it, contemplating uninstalling the app after several disappointing experiences. He didn't want to leave things unresolved, but then he received a polite message that lacked any flirtation, accompanied by a profile that exuded a beautiful vibe. He began to wonder if this person might be the one he had been looking for. A few days later, he struck up a conversation with a guy named Kaz and felt a thrill at the prospect of meeting him. On the day of their meeting, Park Chun imagined what it would be like to see Kaz in person. He wondered if Kaz would be into country boys and felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Despite his apprehensions, he was glad he had decided to take this chance. He thought about all the fun things they could do together, like visiting Xterra World, an amusement park, trying out popular restaurants, and socializing with others. Suddenly, a voice broke his thoughts, asking if he was saying something. Kaz introduced himself, and Park Chun noticed his fair complexion and light hair, realizing that Kaz was actually shorter than him. This wasn't the image he had envisioned. He never expected to meet someone so attractive, which made him even more anxious. Kaz complimented him, saying he looked even more handsome in person and that he had a great physique. Park Chun, taken aback, agreed that it was true. Kaz asked Park Chun if it was his first time meeting someone through an app, noticing his nervousness. He reminded him that he had mentioned it was his first time in the city and wondered how he would feel if he ended up disappointed. Park Chun, attempting to relax, explained that it was just that he hadn't seen Oprah in a long time. Excited, Kaz suggested they head out, and before they left, he inquired about Park Chun's hometown. Feeling a bit shy, Park Chun admitted that his rural background was so obscure that Kaz might not even recognize it. Intrigued, Kaz expressed his fascination with Park Chun's dialect, which was why he had asked. Park Chun appreciated the compliment, but Kaz, while gesturing to his outfit, remarked that his style suited him well and that he looked great, asking if people often told him that. Park Chun, feeling a bit bewildered, responded that he didn't usually dress like this. He recalled a boy he had a crush on in high school, a musician whose style he had always admired. He wondered if he would still be attracted to that look, and if that boy would find him appealing now. Meanwhile, Kaz observed him thoughtfully, and when Park Shun noticed, he apologized, feeling that the situation was quite odd. With a smile, Kaz reassured him that it wasn't strange at all and that he found him cute. As they chatted, they arrived at their destination. Park Shun, confused, echoed Kaz's earlier question, unsure of what was happening. Kaz suggested they go inside, and when they arrived, Park Shun was taken aback to discover it was a hotel. He was aware that some people met for that purpose, but he had envisioned going to a cafe for a nice conversation instead. Feeling uneasy, he began to wonder if Kaz was someone who was only interested in something physical. The thought that he might be a creep crossed his mind, filling him with uncertainty about the situation. The conversations between Kaz and Chun Jae unfolded as follows: age verification and discussing ideal types. Well, Park Shun thought he had found his friend from the other side. Park Shun began to question whether everything had been a mistake. As he stepped into the hotel, he gasped in surprise at how much larger and more spacious it was than he had anticipated, remarking that he had only seen places like this in dramas. At that moment, Kaz stood behind him and said no. Sensing the tension, Park Shun replied that he had known that since he first saw him. With a smile, Kaz commented on how muscular Park Shun's chest looked and asked if he worked out, assuring him that it felt great. Park Shun, feeling a bit uneasy, reminded him that they had just met. Kaz, undeterred, responded that they weren't there for that and reassured him that he wouldn't hurt him. The situation was becoming increasingly perplexing for Park Shun, who was struggling to understand what was happening. At that moment, Park Shun broke down in tears, and Kaz, taken aback, asked if he was crying, quickly apologizing and urging him to stop. Through his sobs, Park Shun explained that they had ended up in a hotel from the very beginning, that he had met a guy who was his ideal type, and that they had started dating. He wanted to hold his hand but felt unable to do so. Kaz, realizing that as Park Shun's emotions heightened, his words became more awkward, told him it was okay and encouraged him to calm down, assuring him that he had misunderstood the situation. He asked for Park Shun's name, to which he replied, Park Chun-jae. Kaz smiled and apologized, assuring him that he had no intention of pressuring him into anything he didn't want to do. He offered some advice, suggesting that if Park Shun was looking for a romantic partner, it might be better not to use that app, as it served a different purpose. He clarified that he hadn't come there specifically to hold his hand and handed him a handkerchief. Park Shun gratefully accepted the handkerchief, feeling a bit more at ease. He noticed that when Kaz removed his glasses, he appeared even more attractive, and his expression seemed genuinely apologetic. Embarrassed and distressed, Park Shun reflected on how he had acted like a child. Kaz, showing concern, asked if he was all right and reassured him that if he wanted to leave, he was free to do so. Park Shun hesitated, glancing at the room. Kaz encouraged him not to worry about it, stating that he would cover the cost of the room. Park Shun was taken aback, thinking it seemed excessively expensive, and expressed his preference to leave. Intrigued, Kaz asked him why he felt that way. Feeling a bit bolder, Park Shun admitted that the situation was somewhat intimidating, and he wasn't familiar with what men typically did together. He laughed nervously, explaining that he had just moved to the city and was unsure how to navigate such scenarios. However, he added that if someone were to guide him, he would prefer it to be Kaz. Kaz, surprised and intrigued, asked Park Shun if he wanted to learn about what men did with each other. Park Shun nodded, and Kaz thought to himself that Park Shun was quite naive. He decided he could teach him, but made it clear that if Chun-jae expressed discomfort, he would stop immediately. However, there was one condition. Park Shun needed to be obedient and follow Kaz's instructions. When Kaz asked if he could do that, Park Shun replied affirmatively. Curious, Kaz inquired if Park Shun worked out. Feeling a bit shy, Park Shun admitted that he didn't. Instead, he had spent his childhood helping his parents in the fields. Kaz nodded, understanding his background. He's a man used to simple things, if you know what I mean. As Kaz observed Park Shun, he realized that it was no surprise he felt like an adult taking away the innocence of a young child. The situation stirred a blend of excitement and responsibility within him, as he recognized that he was about to introduce Park Shun to a new world, one he had once navigated himself. However, he also felt a slight burden on his conscience, understanding that each decision he made could significantly impact the boy's life. Kaz questioned whether he was truly prepared to take on the role of guiding Park Shun down this new path. And honestly, folks, I have to mention that I'm not sure if Kaz is taking advantage of innocent Park. I say this because Kaz was looking for some cream, and it's not like he's going to use it to moisturize his little hands, if you catch my drift. It seems to me that this story revolves around someone leaving the countryside for the city and facing a rather intense welcome. I mention this because Kaz has been putting poor Park Shun through the ringer for the past 2 chapters. We really shouldn't be so naive, right? After that wild night, Park Shun woke up to find himself alone. As he reflected on the events, he remembered that they had spent the entire morning together. Just then, Kaz walked in and asked if he was awake, suggesting he should drink some water first. Park Shun coughed and thanked him. Kaz noticed that Park Shun's voice was quite hoarse and felt a pang of guilt, acknowledging that it was his first time and he might have pushed him too hard. Still, he didn't regret it, as he found Park Shun so adorable that he thought it would have been risky if his first partner hadn't been him. He then asked if Park Shun remembered what he had said the day before. Park Shun recalled Kaz telling him to fall in love with him. With a resigned tone, he remarked that it felt like a losing battle, but Kaz insisted he was serious and inquired about Park Shun's feelings. A bit uncertain, Park Shun replied that he was okay, mentioning that he had been asking for a favor. Kaz, pulling him into a hug, said that was a good sign and that he genuinely liked Chunjae. He added that even if Park Shun hadn't consented, he would have still made him feel special in some way. Kaz leaned in closer and gave Park Shun a soft kiss, smiling at him with a playful glint in his eye. He expressed his hope that they would have even more fun together in the future. Park Shun, filled with a mix of excitement and happiness, returned Kaz a smile, sensing that this moment marked the beginning of many adventures ahead. Their bond was growing stronger, and both felt ready to explore what the future had in store for them. And with that, we wrap up this short story. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like. Thank you for reading.